Hello, everyone. Welcome to Do Your Life podcast number 2. Um, this one is sort of a tough one to talk about, but we're going to dig right into it. And the title or the theme of it is You Are Not Your Past Trauma. And I can relate to this. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this one very closely, where we've had things happen in our past that those things follow us. And then because they happen at a young age, we grow up seeing our parents be a certain way, or people in our community or surrounding neighborhoods be a certain way. We're treated a certain way. The world treats us a certain way, and there's these deep-rooted traumas that are very painful things that happen. But what ends up happening, I find, is that people continue to take that into various stages of life so much that it becomes their identity. I can give you a little background of my life, where growing up, I was a happy kid. We're kind of a regular family in my head. Like, kids went outside, came in when the streetlights were on, things like that. My mom was a young mom. A lot of people got swept up in drugs in the 80s, and my mom was, she got caught up as well. And in that, there was a lot of trauma with instability. We moved a lot. Not, insecurity about when you're going to eat and things like that. And also her issue was sort of kept a secret by the kids, me and my brother and I. And that really started to shape how I felt in the world. Like, I had shame. It seemed like everybody else was doing better and had things that I wanted. And I'm like, why can't my mom be like her mom? That type of thing. And then there's other things that happened that were even more painful than that. But if you start stacking all these traumas, especially when you're in it, you don't really know how to see your way out of it. But what I learned once I became a parent at a young age, I was a parent, single dad at 18, that a lot of that carries on with you and you don't even know it. And, our identity is sort of shaped in my head. Like, when I was a teen, all the drama I was going through really wasn't my drama. It was her drama, but it was my mom. So, of course, I was dealing with it. But then once I was out of that situation, I had my own issues that were really just unresolved trauma because I was still a kid. And this is where the generational kind of curse, can happen. Single parent, mom's a single parent, has a kid ends up following the same path. And one of the things that was really important to me was to break it. Like, I didn't want to be an anomaly. I didn't want to be like a statistic. I wanted to be an anomaly. I wanted to stick out. I wanted to take a different path. In order to do that, I had to redefine myself. And at first, I was defined through my traumas. I think we all have some type of issue that we've held on to or dealt with that makes us feel like that's who we are. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Now, it's not easy and it takes a lot of deep work, but you got to want to change. And so I feel like I have these 3 sectors of life. So there's mom life, growing up as a kid, happy, sad, all the things. And then there's the single dad era of me trying to find my way in the world with my son. And, you know, that's 18 years of that. And then post dad life, if you will, like, once he was out of the house and once he's on his own, I kind of didn't know who I was, like, or I lost some of that sense of myself because I identified myself through being a parent. And so once I didn't have that responsibility the same way, it was really, really challenging. And then I kind of went off the path. I was, he kept me on the straight and narrow, and I didn't go crazy or anything, but I got a little, my map was a little misguided. My GPS was off. Um, and then I realized that, oh, there's a lot of things I haven't dealt with because I put them to the side and I put that trauma on the shelf, but I was still carrying it with me, after that. So I just want to, tell people that your life doesn't have to be defined by your past. Your future doesn't have to be defined by your past, and your trauma doesn't have to define who you are. You are not your trauma. Those things, while painful and heavy, they're things that happen to you. It doesn't mean that's who you are. Takes a lot of deep work to get out of it. There's services and all these different things that we can do to work through it. But I think our identity is really, who do we see ourselves as and how do we speak to ourselves, and who do we want to be? So this is a short one today where I just wanted to kind of touch base on that. And these will get longer, more involved, and I'll have guests and things like that. But I wanted to stay the course with putting this content out. So, 3 tips. They're not hard tips, they're just like things to consider if you're trying to work through or shed some skin of your past trauma. Um, Tip number 1, confront what it is. Were you abused? Was your dad not around? Was there abandonment issues? Whatever that thing is. Instead of avoiding it and then it kept showing up, and because it's always going to show its ugly head somewhere, get to the source and really figure out, like, what is this thing that's bothering me and where is it holding me back in my life? And if it is doing that, go to the source of it and then start to work on it. And that can be through counseling, different services, journaling, I don't know, getting in shape, or whatever it is. Whatever the tools are going to be different for everybody. But I do think confronting it is a big one, because there's a lot of shame in having trauma. So it's like we don't want to share it, or we wear it on our sleeve too much. It could be either or. Number 2, decide on the type of life you want. And if the trauma weren't an issue and money weren't an issue, what type of life would your future self be living if nothing were in the way of that? And really think about that, and then start to stay present, but then think about the future version of yourself, and then try to walk and live and develop the habits that that person would have. And what would make you feel the most proud of yourself? What would make you feel the most love for yourself? What would help you shed the shame, the guilt, the insecurity, the sadness, and really tap into that, and then start to walk in those shoes, walk that path. The last one, I think, is tapping into really stopping the generational trauma. So let's say we have a kid and they go through the trauma, and then they have a kid, and then they dump more trauma, and it's like this compounding effect. So I think, especially for people with kids, but even without, um, what are those emotional triggers? What makes you feel weird in certain situations? What makes you not be able to hold on to a relationship, or feel insecure, or be jealous, or they say people have daddy issues or mommy issues. Like, what are those issues? And what are the ways that you can change it? Like, what would you want to change? If getting rid of that thing meant so much, are you willing to do the work that it would take? Because it does take work, and it's not an overnight thing, it's a lifelong process. But I think from an identity perspective, we have to decide who we want to be. No one can tell us. Your mom, your dad, your family, your job, society, your best friend, your crew. You got to decide on who you want to be and how you show up in the world. And once you tap into that and define yourself through your own terms, some of that trauma starts to peel away quite easily. So I just want to leave that with you guys today. And, do your life. Thank you for subscribing, and continue to listen to them. There's more to come. And it's a lifelong process. Don't underestimate your ability. Till next time.